So in my past videos, we covered HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript. And you're probably wondering now, what can I do with this knowledge? So an example I thought of is creating an automation bot for your Instagram to market. So if you use Instagram, you probably know the best way to get followers is to engage with people. And that would require you to go through and like a bunch of photos and comment on them. And these kinds of processes can actually be automated. So I'm going to show you how I'd go about creating this automation bot. And with this knowledge, you can go and you can create your own processes to do different things that you want to automate online. So I already have Instagram opened. Let's start by searching a tag. Let's say small business. Then we'll open up the hashtag. And here we have a bunch of photos that are tagged small business. So we open one up. Typically, if we wanted to do this manually, we'd have to like the photo, go to the next one, like this photo, go to the next one, and continue that process. But with the help of a little bit of JavaScript, we can actually automate that process. So let's just click on the page and push inspect. And we can clear this. Now let's get the page to the state that we want, which is just having this first photo open. Now, I don't know if we've talked about this in some of our previous tutorials, but there is a method that's called setInterval. And that takes a function, and it takes a time. So we can say every second. So 1,000 would be 1 second. 2,000 would be 2 seconds, and so on. Just for this example, let's do it every second. And inside this function, let's just console.log hello. Now if we run this, you'll see that it keeps counseling this message every second. So let's refresh this page, clear this, open up this first photo. Now let's try to figure out some of these elements in here. So this heart element, for example. So you see if I inspect this, it goes to the span, but outside of it is a button that encapsulates that span. So I'm guessing that the heart is actually that button. So I copy this and I do document.querySelector, and I look for a button that has the class of core sprite heart open. You'll see that it returns that button. And if I did .click, it would click that button. So cool, now we have one of the elements figured out. Let's try figuring out this next button. Inspect it. Okay, we know that an A stands for an anchor tag, which is a link. So I'm guessing that you just have to click this anchor tag to go to the next photo. It has a couple classes. Let's try this core sprite right pagination arrow. Document.querySelector. And we want an anchor tag with this class. And you see that it picks it up. And if we do .click, it works. It takes us to the next photo. Awesome. So now since we know both of the elements that we need, we can start wrapping them in our interval. So let's create a variable called heart and make that equal to the heart. And let's create another variable called arrow, and we'll make that equal to the arrow. Move this over so we have a little more space. And below that, we want to put our setInterval. Takes a function and a time. Let's try every 3 seconds. Now, since I defined the heart and the arrow outside of the interval, the heart and the arrow will always be equal to that initial element. So we want to actually move these inside of our interval. So now every time that this interval runs, it's going to look for the heart and it's going to look for an arrow, which will be the new one that's on the page. Now below, we want to say, hey, if there is a heart, then we want to click the heart. And then after the heart has been clicked, we want to click the arrow. And we can even make a count up here. Count equals 0. And then after the heart has been clicked, if there's a heart and it's been clicked, whoops. So if there's a heart, then click it. But we also want to count plus plus. We want to add one to the count because a new photo has been clicked. And we can cancel out you've liked photos. I don't know if we covered this, but this is new in ES6. It's the string interpolation. So you no longer need to do something like this. See how that's a little bit harder to write than what I just had? So now with ES6 and the new string interpolation, you just do this backtick. And to insert a variable, you put a $sign and the curly boys. And then you put the variable name inside. And then end it with the backtick. Cool. I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to clear the screen. And then paste that back in there. So just so we have a little bit more room. Cool. So let's just go over this interval one more time. So we're setting an interval that's going to run this function every 3 seconds. And the function that's going to run, it's going to initiate variable count at 0. Oh, I can already see this error right here. So it's always going to be equal to 0 because we set it inside. So it's always going to instantiate count to 0. So that's not going to work. We can actually just take that and move it outside of our interval. So now we have a count that's equal to 0, and it's not going to keep instantiating it as 0. Okay, back to our function. So we cache the heart by looking for the element. We cache the arrow by looking for the element. And then we say, hey, if there is a heart, then we want to click the heart. Then we want to add one to our count. And then we want to cancel out you've liked so many photos. And then we want to click the arrow. So everything looks good. Let's try running it. Awesome. It looks like everything's working. So let's get out of here and refresh. Now we can check out the work that our bot has done. So it's like this photo. It's like that photo. For some reason it skipped that photo. Like that photo. Like that photo. Awesome. It looks like it's working. So this kind of gives you an idea of the things that you can do with JavaScript and how you can automate your workflow and your marketing. If you go over to my Gist account, gist.github.com/jdallencook, you'll see that I have this little script right down here called instalike.js. So I hope this helped you understand the power of JavaScript, giving you some ideas of things you can get started with. Like I've said in the last videos, I think it's best if you assign yourself projects, small projects that you know you can accomplish, instead of just trying to digest all this information. Because by going through and doing this, you're actually going to learn. And then you'll come up with more ideas, and before you know it, you'll be a developer. One last thing I wanted to say before I go is you'll notice that in this Insta-like script, I have it set at 10 seconds. That's because Instagram has an algorithm that looks for spammers. Because we have the power with JavaScript to make our bot like a photo every millisecond, which you can just imagine that would be pretty insane. So I've noticed that if you have it at 10 seconds, they won't flag you. But if you have it set lower than that, then they'll temporarily disable your account. So thanks for checking out my video. If you have any suggestions for things that I should do in the future, leave them in the comments. And if you could give this video a thumbs up, it really helps out my channel.